welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Peer reviews, and particularly the type of formal peer review called inspection, have been recognized for decades as one of the most powerful quality practices available to the software industry. However, many organizations have attempted to introduce reviews and have not been successful. Perhaps this applies to you. If you have tried to introduce a review program and things didn't go quite the way you liked, you might take a few minutes to think about what were some of the root causes, what were the observations that weren't what you had in mind, and maybe why did some of these things not go as well as you'd hoped. Sometimes this is because people don't fully appreciate the importance of social and cultural factors in peer reviews. I think reviews are at least as much a social interaction as they are a technical practice, so considering these factors is very important for success. We tend to focus on the reviews and the steps we go through and sometimes forget about the human aspects. I tend to cover in this presentation. First, I want to tell you what I mean when I say peer review. Then I want to describe some of the barriers you might encounter, both perceived and real, as you try to get a review program going in your organization. Identify the team members who can get some benefits from the reviews, and really encompasses everyone involved with the project and some of the benefits that they can enjoy. I'm going to describe something called egoless programming, which very much applies to the attitudes of people when they're thinking about having someone review their work. I'll spend a few words talking about the relationship between peer reviews and managers, somewhat sensitive issue. I'll point out some of the issues associated with holding reviews that involve participants from multiple cultures, where we really have to think about carefully how those people are going to interact effectively. Finally, I will summarize with some good things to do regarding reviews and some things you probably don't want to do. Here's a formal definition of a software peer review, and really you can take the word software out of pretty much everything I write about and talk about, and it applies to a wide variety of technical activities and even non-technical activities. So we can define a peer review as being an examination of a software work product, anything that people create as part of a project, examined by people other than the author, the person who created that deliverable, with the specific objective of identifying defects. And a defect is any place where the product doesn't conform to the specification that describes what it's supposed to do or be, or where it doesn't conform to any standards that apply to that kind of deliverable. And along the way, for free, we also get a lot of improvement opportunities that you might or might not choose to fold into the current product that you're examining, but you should certainly keep in mind for doing a better job on similar deliverables in the future. And in fact, this is one of the real side benefits of reviews, the fact that even if you're not the author, so you don't have a product that's being examined at that moment, that you can still learn from how other people are doing their work and the improvement ideas that come out of that experience that you can then feed back into your own work when you go back to the office. So in this presentation, I'm using the term defect as a synonym for a bug, an error, a mistake, a fault. Those actually have other precise definitions that distinguish them, but I don't really care about that. Here, what I'm just concerned about is the fact that when I create something on a software project, there's a chance I'm going to get something wrong, and I can't always find my own mistakes. You know, technical work needs reviewing for the same reason that pencils need erasers. People make mistakes. I'm not happy that I make mistakes, but I'm happy when someone I work with can find it and point out the error to me rather than me having to wait for the customer to call and then wonder why they're not in a good mood. So I'm good at catching some of the errors I make myself, but there's a lot of other kinds of things that I just can't see myself. I'm too close to it. Just to give you an example, I do a lot of writing, and when I write something, might be a chapter of a book or an article or something, if I just go back and review it immediately, after I've written it, then I'm really not reviewing it. I'm reciting it. I already have in my mind what I intended to say or thought I said, and I'm not very objective at that point. Instead, I like to set it aside for a day or so and then come back and look at it, and I have slightly fresher eyes. My memory of what I did when I created it has decayed somewhat, so I can look at it a little more objectively, and I'll find some errors that way, or some awkward phrasing or things that I didn't get right. I'll find those errors when I look at it afterward, but if I look at it immediately, I don't see those things. So I like to have other people look at it separately, in addition to myself stepping it back just a little bit with a little time delay in there. So the specific purpose of these kinds of reviews is to find errors. We're not trying to use these reviews as a way to report project status to various stakeholders. We're not trying to make project decisions other than whether or not the particular work product that we're examining is ready for future use. We're not trying to educate people. That's not a primary objective of a review, although that's a nice side benefit. And we're certainly not trying to find someone we can blame for the problems we might have been experiencing on our project. We're trying to find a way to make each work product better than it would have been otherwise. Let's think about some of the objectives people might have in mind when they decide to hold some sort of a software peer review. As I just alluded, the most obvious one is to find errors in the functions of maybe a chunk of code, or the logic that went into some design, or how any deliverable we created is implemented. Those deliverables can range from business plans to project plans to requirement specifications, or a vision and scope document with business requirements, through architecture designs and detailed designs and code and tests, and anything you create on a project that has a possibility of having errors is a candidate for having other people look at it. But we can't review things in a vacuum. I can read some code and it could be the most beautiful code ever written. It could be a model of how one should write nice code, beautifully laid out, crystal clear, nice comments, but if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, it's wrong. If it doesn't meet its design expectations, if it doesn't satisfy the requirement specification, that beautiful code is wrong. So we need to review things against some reference point to have a context so we know what it's supposed to be or do. We can check to see if it conforms to any standards. There might be business rules that your requirements have to respect. There might be coding standards or interface standards that you have to follow when you're building something. So this is a chance to make sure that we followed all the rules that apply to our product. Peer reviews are a way to give managers systematic visibility into the quality of the products we're creating. Too often our visibility into quality is a matter of just asking somebody how they're coming, and they say, yeah, fine, doesn't look too bad, I think I'll be done on time. And that's okay, I guess, but it doesn't tell you very much. So reviews give us a way to have some people take a close look inside a work product and report their observations so management knows whether the quality of the items we're creating is really going to help satisfy our quality expectations for the product as a whole. We have various communication channels in a project, formal and informal, and peer reviews are one way we can communicate technical information among various stakeholders by giving them a chance to look inside a deliverable that's created rather than just seeing the end product. I don't know about you, but I've been in the situation where I inherited someone else's code. I was a software developer and somebody left the group or moved on to another project, and they said, here's a program they wrote, you can take care of it now. And I didn't know anything about it, so I have a huge uphill battle just to try to figure out what it does and then get inside of it and figure out how it does those things so I can fix bugs that are reported or so I can add new capabilities that have been requested. Now, if I had been involved in some peer reviews as that product was being developed, so I had some visibility under the hood into the internals and how it was structured and the thought processes of the author, I probably would have been able to maintain it a whole lot better. I wouldn't have been starting from an absolutely blank slate and trying to figure out what's going on here. And one of the great benefits that comes out of any kind of peer review is a chance to see how we can do future work better. So process improvement ideas are a great free side benefit you get from any kind of a review program. So there's a lot of reasons why